And welcome to Two Steps Ahead podcast. My name is Son Edom, alongside my friend and co-host, who I'm going to, each and every episode, let her introduce herself just because that's our thing that we have going on right now.
Hey guys, I'm Tara Shiro. How you doing today?
So, Ohio State, huh? You think the Buckeyes are going to do it?
We are. But you know what? These pants are like... I have to adjust because it's a good thing we're behind a table recording because I feel so bloated. I don't look like, right? Can you tell? I'll just hide behind the table.
Well, it does look like you had a hearty lunch.
Are you serious? You can tell?
It's kind of like
Seriously?
that. It's kind of like that moment on the lips, lifetime on the hip scenario.
You're such a chauvinist.
So, well, what would you rather have me say?
Lie
oh no, you look great.
Lie to me. Tell me that it's okay that I'm bloated.
So you'd rather me lie to you than say, hey, back off the Chips Ahoy or the Oreos.
Yes, but I also want to be with someone who tells the truth.
Okay.
So figure that out.
Okay, so let's play that.
I don't want to be with a person who.
Okay, let's do that age-old scenario.
Okay.
Where you get your hair cut.
Okay.
And you come in and you're like,
that has
hey,
happened, by the way.
Do you like my hair? And let's see if I get it right this time.
Yes. So
you get your hair.
So
you just got your hair cut.
Yeah,
we're role playing.
We're role playing.
This is a real life podcast RPG game, role playing game. So you're going to pretend like you got your hair cut.
So look how long my hair is.
Yeah,
it's like
down to like mid back,
way back, and so I get it cut all the way up above my shoulders.
So like right here.
Yes, all the way up. Hey, do you like my new haircut?
What do you think of it?
I love it.
I do too. I think it's great. You look fabulous.
What if I hate it? What if I made a big mistake?
You know what? It'll grow back in 2 years.
Ugh.
We'll just tug on it, put a little egg in it, grow it out.
So
do
for
all
2
the old
years,
wives'
you're going
tale.
to pretend to love me?
Yes, until it grows back. Maybe just a year, because then in a year from now, what do they say? Hair grows a half an inch every month or something like that?
Quarter.
Ooh. 3 years. It'll be 3 years.
Took a long time.
How long did it take?
This length is the longest it's ever been in my entire life.
Really?
It took a few years.
It took me 2 years, almost 2 years, to grow out a long goatee that I recently cut back in the summer of 19. Mm-hmm.
So when so I want you to, if I do something drastic.
Right. Okay, so what's the shortest you've had your hair?
Pixie.
Okay, so if you came, let's role play again. You came in with a pixie cut. Okay, so the first role play was from mid-back to about shoulder length. So now we're going from mid-back to pixie. And again, no offense to anybody out there if you might have your hair a certain way.
I love short hair
Just
for women that can rock it.
Yes.
I personally cannot rock a short hair.
Okay, so now you got your hair cut in a pixie style.
Yes, and I'm about to cry.
Okay, so
I'm near tears.
Okay, so I'm kind of minding my own business and you come in and let me know. Okay.
Hey, do you like my haircut?
Ah! What did you do?
It looks awful. I hate it.
It does.
Oh.
Wear a ball cap.
Oh.
Is that not the answer you want?
No.
No.
My dad said that to some lady one time. He was walking down. He was used to work downtown Los Angeles, and he passed this woman every day at lunch hour, and she had really long hair. And then she cut it. And then he actually told her, like, it looks like shit.
Wow.
I was like, Dad, you did not say that.
See, I like, I'll walk around with people. And I have no hair for those that watch us on YouTube. Okay. So I'll walk around and I'll see people with, especially if girls have shaved their head or something. And I'll walk them in and I'll point, if I have a hat, I'll take it off. I'll point to them and say, nice haircut. And then we kind of joke. And then sometimes with students in class or whatever, if they're getting a little shabby, I'll call them hippies because I have no hair. So I make fun of them. But yeah, especially if I see women, if they shave their head or something, I'll make a comment and be like, hey, nice haircut. I like your style or something like that. And, because you never know. First off, you never know why they had to cut their hair.
Right. It could just be they're sick of
Right.
dealing with the long hair.
Right.
It could be cancer.
Right.
It could
So
be
you have to
all
be
kinds
careful.
of things. So you have to be careful.
But, okay, so it brings up the point then. Okay, you mentioned cancer, things like that. Okay, what would you rather have me do? Tell you the truth or give you that, okay, make you feel good lie, even though I may or may not like it?
I would prefer that you soften the truth by telling me that it doesn't matter what I look like, that you love me anyway.
So you come in, your jeans are a little tight. You say, honey, do these jeans make me look fat? I'd be like, no, but A size 10 would look really sexy on you.
No, don't say that.
Oh, not that?
No,
Oh.
do not say that.
No.
Say, okay, before we give the answers, how about, is lying okay? We'll give the answers at the end,
Okay.
the politically correct ones.
Well,
Or the real ones, I should say. Not the politically correct is a lie, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Politically correct, fake news, all that's a lie. But here's the thing. Okay, before we get to the answering the questions, okay, let's pose
let's do some scenarios.
Yeah, here's a real life scenario. Okay, so fall of 2013, I started having some liver issues. Okay, so you mentioned the cancer with the hair. So medical, let's look at the medical aspects of it. So I had some liver issues back in the fall of 2013. I go to the ER because it was recommended I go to the ER. And I see all these different doctors. It took like 13 hours. And I hear all kinds of things being thrown at me. It could be liver failure. It could be, liver cancer. It could be pancreatic cancer. It could be kidney related. It could be, a bile duct thing. It could be, a number of things. So it went from the not so serious to I'm going to be dead in like 6 months. And so obviously they weren't giving me any answers because they were kind of waiting on some test results. But I also knew that they were weeding out some things.
Right.
So even though they wouldn't tell me anything, I would ask them, so is it kidney issue? And they couldn't tell me that. Okay, is it a pancreatic issue for my pancreas? They wouldn't say anything. And I know at this point they were ruling out some things. And so I go get an ultrasound. And the ultrasound is where they put the jelly on the belly and they kind of move around to see the organs on the inside. And so I look at the person doing the ultrasound who isn't really in a position to tell me anything. But I asked her and she wouldn't say anything. And so then I see the doctor hours later. I'm like, hey, how was the ultrasound? You rule anything out? And they're like, no. I'm like, come on, man. You got to at least give me something because, you're telling me I could be something as simple as kidney stones to something that I'm going to be dead. And you're ruling out these things with the test results. So in the medical profession, I would prefer they just told me. Well, I found out... Actually, I think it was from a buddy of mine who was a doctor that it's gotten to the point where unless they can prove concrete one thing, they're not going to say anything because of liability. Okay, so now are they putting themselves ahead of the patient? I don't know. That's probably a topic of another conversation. But I would have them just tell me what's up. This is what we're thinking. This is what we're dealing with. This is what we're looking for, and let me know straight up. Don't
so
candy
them not
it.
being forthcoming or not being completely truthful was producing more anxiety.
Yeah, exactly. Because I thought I'd be dead in 6 months because it was pancreatic cancer because they had mentioned that as a possibility. And then it turned out to be, fortunately I'm still here, it turned out to be not as serious as they had led me to believe when I first initially went to the ER. And they could have ended, months of anxiety if they'd just been up, straight up forth with me or straight up with me in the beginning when we started the whole process. So in that type of instance, I think that honesty would be the best policy. So
do you think that fits into the category of on the line of lying?
Well,
do you think it fits into that?
Well, I don't think they should.
Withholding information.
I think withholding is the same.
Is the same as lying.
Yeah, there could be something along the line. Like they could have given me information that would have been very helpful instead of just sending me home with more questions.
Right. So when is it okay to lie? Do you think it's like, is there ever a time that it's okay? Is lying ever okay?
Apparently, if you get a pixie cut
yes.
and you come into the studios, that would be one time.
Please, yes.
Well, that's the other thing too. Okay. You've written a book. We've talked about it in past episodes.
Yes.
Okay. We do a podcast. I've done a lot of things in radio. And feedback is important. Critical feedback, not just, arbitrary, hey, your show sucks. Why? What was good? What was bad? So is there a place and time to lie? It depends.
Yeah. I asked my professor one time, I actually have a bachelor degree in English, creative writing. That's what my undergrad is in. And in hindsight, it's silly of me to think that I did this, but I actually talked to my professor during that time and I asked her, do you think I'm a good enough writer to be a published author, to have a national, bestseller or to publish a book? And that was a terrible question for me to ask her, but I did. And she lied to me. But she said it in a way that was kind of the truth as well. She told me, she didn't answer my question, actually. She said, the people who are published are not, and I took the offense to this, honestly, at the time. Now I don't. She said the people who are published are not necessarily the most talented, but the ones who want it the most. That was her answer to me. And so at the time, I was really insecure, and I was like, oh, she thinks I'm a horrible writer, but because she thinks I'm not the most talented, but because I'm tenacious, then I'll probably be published. That's how I interpreted it. That's probably the wrong way to interpret it. But I was basically in hindsight, I was asking for validation. I wasn't really asking for the truth. And she luckily softened it and didn't. Because at the time I wasn't I still might not be, even though I've published.
See, I can understand that, but my approach would probably have been a little different with the fact that, because you never know, and this is true, you never know what's going to be successful and what isn't. You never know if a person is going to be success based on what they're doing in the early part of their career. For example, your writing might be atrocious in the beginning, but as you develop, you might have a talent for it. And as you develop the writing skills, as you write more and you get your style and you get your craft down, you might improve and then you become a success. So in that case, I can kind of understand the deflection, because you don't want to discourage somebody from chasing what they want to do in life. But you also have to be a little bit more realistic in that situation and be like, you know what, as of right now, maybe the way you're writing isn't going to be a national bestseller, but if you continue to write and you continue to improve yourself and maybe take writing classes or practice and put out manuscripts or whatever, then you could possibly get to the point where you could have something.
But it's hard to know how honest to be with someone, because you don't know how they're going to take it. Some people, there are certain situations where I love like in my writing, I love the truth, because if it's not good enough, if it's not hitting the mark, I want to know about it so that I can make it better. There's other areas where maybe cutting my hair, maybe I don't want as much truth. But so I think the receiver, not only as the giver, we have to decide how much truth we're going to give if we're going to tell a lie, but then the receiver too. So we're all constantly gauging, like some people can handle truth and some people can't. So you're like, oh, I cannot tell this person the truth because they can't handle it. It's going to hurt their feelings. On the other hand, how honest are we willing to be? Because a lot of times we lie, not necessarily to protect the other person, but we lie to protect ourselves. Like if my husband says, hey, did you do, X, Y, or Z? Did you pay the bills, or did you take out the trash, or whatever? Sometimes in my head, I might be like, oh, crap, I forgot. He's been asking me to do this thing for 3 days and I keep forgetting. So to put myself out of my misery, I might say, yeah, I did it. And then as soon as he goes and gets in the shower, I'm like running to do it really fast, thinking that he's not going to know the difference, right? That's so silly. But that's what we do. We lie so that we don't get in trouble, so that we don't get caught, so that we can, do whatever it is that we want to do. So it's both sides.
So basically you're talking about circumstantial lying.
Is that what it's called?
Circumstantial.
Please tell me your experience with circumstantial lying.
Well, no, it goes back to the, I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Yes.
Okay, so in your case, you didn't do something that you were told or asked to do, requested to do for 3 days. So you said you did, and then you went and did it.
Right.
So the circumstance you would put in and said, oh, I did it. And then you went and done it. So that was the circumstantial lie, was to cover so that you could go do it. What if it's something even... So going back to the hair thing, it's a circumstantial thing. Do you think my hair looks good? Well, does it or doesn't it? Well, if I don't think it does, am I going to tell you that? So is it okay for me to circumstantially lie and be like, oh, no, it looks great? Or... So
the question is how much, are we saying that lying is okay as a principle?
Well, as a principle, I would think that honesty would be the best policy, but I think we lie with good intention. I think people lie just period. We all lie.
We all lie.
We all lie, and we all lie with good intention. We all lie with bad intention. But I think what we're talking about is lying with good intention. Okay, because you come up to me and you come up to me. Okay, so a student, I have students because I teach. Hey, did you cheat on a test? No, I didn't. Okay, well, I caught you. You lied. Okay, or did you do the assignment? No, I didn't. Or one of the things which I love to do is sometimes I'll be friends with students on social media and they won't come to class and I'll ask them, hey, why don't you come to class? And they'll give me a reason. I'm like, yeah, because, and the reason was, oh, I'm sick. Well, yeah, I saw you at the, on social media with your pictures at the party the night before and you were hungover. You weren't sick. So you might have
Well,
been
they were
throwing up.
sick,
Yeah,
but it wasn't- it was for a
So
different
there was a
reason.
circumstantial lie that, they're trying to get away with.
So have you ever said to so if somebody wants to, like right now, I guess I can say this because the lady doesn't know who I am and I don't know the lady. She wants my daughter to babysit, but my daughter doesn't want to babysit for this lady.
Then just be
So
like, no.
I say, so just tell her, that you're not interested, but
Not
we
available.
we have a hard time. Well, she says not available, and then the lady keeps calling her. Or what if
Don't
there's
answer.
somebody that, so you don't answer?
Well, if the lady can't get a hint, or just, well, I guess the question would be, why doesn't she want to?
They just
The kid's a
didn't
brat?
mesh. They didn't mesh. They did like a trial thing, and it just wasn't the right match.
Okay.
So she doesn't want, and I agree in this
Okay,
situation.
I think it comes down to this, to be honest. We should be at a point in society where we can tell, you know what? I sat for your kid. I don't think we meshed. I don't think I'm the best babysitter for your child. I think there's probably other people out there, and I think that you should be able to, go find somebody else that's better suited for watching your kid than I am. And I think that we should be mature enough to be able to be like, yeah, okay, that's reasonable.
Some of us are can do that, and other people because I even my daughter lives in a different state, so I texted her and I said, maybe you should just tell her that you've changed direction and that you're just going to move on to other, opportunities, and thank you for your time. And she texted me back and said, okay, I could say that, but maybe not so harsh. And I was thinking, why is that harsh? But the younger crowd,
Well,
not
criticism.
necessarily the younger crowd, but just a lot of us have a hard time being honest. And so like if someone has reached out to you and you just don't want to, reach back, then we make up excuses. Oh, I lost the email. That's a popular one. Oh, I lost all of my emails. My phone broke. I lost all of my contacts. I lost, we make up things rather, because I'm with you. I would just rather just be honest and just tell the truth. But
See, I think my students know me as pretty direct. I think I've heard them say a couple times, I just say it like it is. I think one time, I think it was our second episode we got finished with it. You asked me how it was, and I said it sucked. I was just straight up. And then another student was here, and he said, yeah, that's pretty much how he is. So maybe I'm a little more blunt than I should be, but I think
we're alike in that area.
So I think for me, it's a little bit different. Now, there'll be times students will come to me, kind of like what you did with your student, and you got to be direct, because you can't say, oh, you're great, you're going to be a superstar. Well, that's not going to be the case. You're giving false hope. However, you could be, like I mentioned earlier, you know what, right now at this point, this is what I see. This is what I hear. But if you improve, if you excel, if you get better, if you practice, if you put in the time, you're going to get better, and then you never know. I'm always of the assertion that someplace in America, if somebody wanted to be on the radio, they can. So I always tell them that too. I said, you know what, you could be someone on the radio that might not be in LA, New York, or Chicago, but Iowa, Montana, a place like that might not be your ultimate goal, but it's a start.
It's a
Go
way
there.
to practice.
Right.
Yeah. So
I'm of the, so yeah, I mean, we all lie. We all like to say, not give the person hard feelings. We don't want them to feel bad. And I think that's okay. I think that's inherent in our nature to not want to make the other person feel bad. So we kind of just make up some stuff and try to let them, tell them what they want to hear so they feel good about themselves. But I think we should mature as a society and be able to be like, you know what, I'm just not a good fit for your kid. I think there's better babysitters out there, and I think you should go find one.
Now, here's a story. I totally agree with you. Now, here's a story from high school. This guy, I was in the marching band, and he was in the marching band. And this was, I think, my sophomore, junior year-ish. I can't remember. After a game one night, we were still on the football field, and this guy comes up and asks me out for a date. And I said, I kind of hesitated, and then I said, you know what? You're a nice guy, we're great as friends, but there's just nothing there. I'm just not interested in you in that way. So thank you, for the invitation, but I'm just going to have to say no. And he kind of froze, in his tracks when I said that. And then he turned around and he walked away, and I was like, oh gosh. And then he came back 10 minutes later, and he said, and he was beaming. He's like, you know what? Thank you for saying that to me, because a lot of girls would make up an excuse, like they got to wash their hair, they got to go, someplace else. And then it would make me think like, well, okay, they want to go, but they are just busy. So then I'll ask them again, or they'll not want to say anything. So they'll feel bad saying no. So they say yes. And then I go out and I pay for a dinner and I go through all this expense, and she's just doing it because she feels bad saying no. So he said, thank you for telling me, the truth and being honest and setting, me on my way. So
yeah, I think when it comes to like the dating relationship things, it would save everybody a lot of heartache and trouble and issues if we were just not blunt, but honest about it. I hear students talk about getting ghosted, where they'll like date somebody or go out on a date and then they never hear back.
Ugh.
And then they respond. And it's like, why can't the person who's disappeared just be like, you know what? I mean, it's a text world. You don't even have to confront somebody.
Right.
You can break up with their answer machine for all you care. Right. You can just be like, what? I'm not interested. It just didn't work out. Thank you so much. I had a lovely time, and best of luck in what you do. Boom. Problem solved. You know, but people can't do that because I think we don't like confrontation. We don't like criticism, receiving or even giving. Sometimes. That's why we lie. And then 2, we're just not mature enough as a society to just kind of speak the truth. And that's what it is. Am I good enough to be on the radio? Right now, I would say probably not. But you know what? If you continue to work hard and you continue to improve yourself and practice and put in the time, I believe that there's an opportunity somewhere in this country for you to be on the radio. We're not all going to be Ryan Seacrest or whomever, but there's a chance for you to be on the radio. That would give them a sense of like, okay, there's a little bit of hope. There's an opportunity. Now they can take that information and decide what they want to do with it. I'm just not interested in you. I had a great time. It was a lovely night. Best of luck in your search. And then boom, we move on. But because we lie, because we make things up, I think that just compounds the issue at times.
It does.
And then it causes more problems. I know. Yeah, I've heard it, many times, and especially being around, students. I don't want to say young people because some of the students are a little bit older, and this is all generations. I mean, this is all people of all ages. They'll come up and they'll make up excuses, and like you said, giving someone hope that okay, they're just busy right now, but maybe next week or maybe this event, and it's like
right, and then it just goes on and on. So, what about lying when it comes to things that are not necessarily involving they do involve other people, but it's more hidden. So for example, if you received extra change at the cash register, do you tell the lady or or the man, or do you keep it and say, cha-ching, today was my lucky day, I got extra change?
See, me personally, I'd give it back just because that's just me. No, for no reason. I just, it's not mine. I'd give it back.
Me too. I always give it back.
I guess that's a person, but
Yeah, or if there's I've walked out of the grocery store before and there's been something in my cart, maybe on the bottom. Now they have those cameras on the bottom, but something that didn't get paid for. So I've literally turned back around and gone back into the store and said, can you charge me for this? But in general, so we're talking about lying. We're talking about when is it okay to lie? If it is okay to lie, how much of a lie? Like how far do you go down that slide? And when is a lie okay? When is it not okay? Is it ever okay?
And when is it you're giving information, but not all the information? Okay. So you take a look at things that are going on. Law enforcement. You've got a shooter on campus. Do you really want everybody to know everything that's going on, or are you going to give them some information to kind of ease and calm, the situation? Maybe that's a topic that's not maybe that type of scenario doesn't even fit in the conversation because we're dealing with something completely different. We're just talking about interpersonal.
Well, I think
things.
Withholding information, like you were talking about in the medical, they were withholding information to protect you.
Right.
And
or to protect themselves from me suing them for telling me I have pancreatic cancer and give me a heart attack and then I don't.
Right. Or, in a traumatic, in a shooting, withholding information in order to protect people, to keep people calm. Then we're getting into other scenarios in our relationships about we want to be with someone who's honest, but we look at those little things. So, for example, I'll tell on myself. So, sometimes I used to, I don't do this anymore, but I used to buy a pair of shoes or a sweater or whatever, and then bring it into the house without my husband seeing the package come in, right? And then maybe like 3 months later, I put it on. He's like, "Oh, is that a new sweater?" I'm like, "Oh, I got this 3 months ago." So that is lying, right? That's not being honest. So we all do those things,
right?
So you want to tell on yourself? Is there anything that you do? No,
not
you're
really.
lying.
Not really. Well, no. I mean, like you said, you can. Here's the one area that I'll say where you should never lie. Never lie to yourself.
But we do.
But we shouldn't, because we need to tell ourselves the truth about who we are and what we're going through and what our experiences are.
I think that's the area that we lie the absolute most,
but we shouldn't.
To ourselves.
Okay. So like, what would be a situation where you lie to yourself?
So if we are not in reality with who we are, we think that we're better than other people. We think that we're we're above a certain situation, where we deserve to be paid more for our efforts. We deserve to be have accolades or rewards, or we say that we're less than other people. Like, oh, I don't deserve all of this, or I don't deserve this treatment that I'm getting. Those are, I think, sometimes there could be some truth on there, but a lot of times we lie to ourselves. We think that we're better than we are. We have a tendency to base ourselves on our intentions. And so if I intend to do something, it makes me feel like I'm a better person because I'm fully intending to do it. I'm not a better person because I haven't done it. All I've done is think about, fantasizing about the future, about what I may or may not do. So because we base ourselves on our intentions, and a lot of times we lie to ourselves, because how many times have we said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to do that." Let's just pick a couple of things just for examples. I'm going to start saving money, or I'm going to lose weight. Or I lost some weight, but then I gained it back at Thanksgiving. But then every time somebody sees you, or every time you see this person, it's always like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to lose weight," even though they're getting, bigger and bigger. We're lying to ourselves, because you either are or you aren't doing something. And so when we pretend, or when we base our actions on our intentions, that's a form of lying to ourselves, because we haven't done it. We haven't done what we said that we're going to do. And so that's one way. There's several ways, but that's one way.
But that Thanksgiving turkey was so delicious.
It was, and I had so many helpings. For leftovers are the best
that's
part.
why your pants are a little bit tight.
Yeah.
Because it's not because of lunch today. It's because of the turkey that you had at Thanksgiving.
Yes, and you're going to point that out, and you're going to notice.
But yeah, I mean, I guess, I don't know. I think I'm a little bit more real with myself. I think I'm more real with myself than I am with anybody else, because I go back and forth. Like, I'll tell myself the truth, and then I'll give myself excuses why the truth isn't the truth, but I still know the truth, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So where do you think that because we're humans, we all lie to ourselves. So you're saying that there's never a time that you manipulate or shuffle the truth for any reason, or?
Well, what about this scenario? The holiday season. You mentioned Thanksgiving, so we're the holiday season. And let's say, well, not let's say, because people do it all the time. There's someone that's a little bit less fortunate, a family, and you go out and you buy some gifts, and you drop the gifts on the doorstep. Mm-hmm. They come to you and said, "Hey, did you give us the gifts?" "No, I didn't." Because you don't want the attention and the accolades. You just want them to enjoy the gifts. Is that okay to lie that way? Or should you say, "Yeah, I did. I hope you enjoy them"?
Yeah. Like, again, we're talking about protecting people's feelings. Like, if you say, "Yes, I'm the one that left the gifts on your porch," they may feel obligated to you. They may feel inferior to you. They may have all kinds of weird feelings about it. And so depending on their reaction, again, we a lot of lying is for protection. So depending on how they react or what that relationship is, but again, the more, like,
See,
Yeah, I've done that, or I've
Right.
been the receiver of that. And you're right,
Yeah.
it's so awkward. It's like, do you or do you not, tell the truth? And if you tell the truth, the consequences might be that they feel inferior and it's going to be a weird relationship moving forward. If you don't tell them it was me and they know that it was, now they're going to know, they're going to look at you as like that you're being manipulative or that you're lying or that you can't just be honest enough to say, hey, I want to help you. So sometimes there's like, you're damned either way.
Right.
Like if you do, if you don't. And
Well, in the Good Samaritan type of scenario, I think it's okay to lie if you want to protect that. Because it's, what's that saying? When you give in secret is better than to give for the accolades, because that's what you receive. Like if I'm giving because I want people to know I'm giving, then that's my reward, is the accolades of me giving. But if I give in secret and give in quiet and let the act of me giving be what it is, then that's kind of bad. I know I'm kind of messing up the quote.
No, you're not messing up the quote. It's totally right. And it's a double-edged sword, because I don't know the exact reference to that verse, but the verse that you're referring to means that if we do it, if we serve, if we donate, to charity, or we give something and we do it so that people will congratulate us, then that is not the way that God designed it, because we're getting the glory and it's not for him.
Right.
But so it's self-serving. Like we give in order to, receive the accolades, and that's not the right way to give. In that respect, it would be better to give in secret so that we don't, we're not, getting all the pats on the back. However, if everything that we do as far as charity is done in secret, now we're not motivating or inspiring anybody else to follow suit. And so the conundrum is that, we go serve at the homeless shelter. We don't want to brag about it, but we want to encourage other people to serve. So we tell people about it. We invite them to come with us. We invite them to be a part of the giving, that we're doing, but we don't take the credit like, oh, we're such great people. We do it so that other people can join in and be encouraged to also, because when people see some people donating and volunteering, it inspires them to donate and volunteer. So I think it's the not doing it for personal satisfaction. It's not doing it to put it on your resume like, oh, I, donate here. It's not for self.
It's not the look at me.
No.
The look at me, look what I've done type of thing.
Right. That's the line.
Yeah.
That's the line. So it's not, so again, is that lying? Like if we do something and we don't want to own up to that it was us, or is that being Secret Santa, or is that being...
I see, it just comes down to the circumstance. Goes back to, I think, the circumstance. In some situations, it's okay to be the one that just let the lie be a lie because it's for the betterment of the situation or the circumstance.
Right.
Sometimes, but most of the time, we should just be able to be straight up with some sort of truth where you're giving the facts and you're just talking about, and we shall be mature enough to be able to accept that and receive that, but we're not. And so that's why we're having this conversation.
What if the truth is something that is self-protecting or self-preserving? So let's say we're watching, we're addicted to pornography,
right?
And our spouse is, being left out. Let's say we have some sort of any kind of addiction,
sure,
or an affair, or whatever. And of course we don't want to be caught. So we're going to lie in order to feed whatever it is that we're doing.
But see, that's a difference. See, that's a different circumstance. There, we don't want to get caught because we might be doing something perceived as wrong. Versus we don't want to get caught because we don't want the accolades to be on us. We just want the deed that we did, the good deed, to stand alone. And we want these people that benefited from our kindness or generosity just to be able to enjoy their Christmas morning, whatever. So there's a difference, because the lying to protect ourselves because we're doing something wrong is a circumstance where we don't want to get in trouble.
Right.
And so therefore we're going to lie so we don't get in trouble. I mean, that's inherent in our nature.
Right.
We're born with that. We're born with lying to get out of trouble, because we always are in trouble, even from, a kid, that can barely walk and talk. We're going to lie. Did you do this, Johnny? No. No. Who did this? They did, whatever. And so that's inherent.
Or even on what you just said made me think of, look at all the people on the news, on TV, the politicians, and how many people, not even just politicians, but higher up people who have gotten caught doing something and was it Prince Andrew?
Yeah,
I think
Prince
is the
Andrew.
one he just said in the interview. He says, I honestly don't remember that picture being taken. I don't remember meeting her. I don't remember the conversation. I honestly think that never happened. And I'm like, how many times have people said those exact words? I don't recall. I don't remember. I don't. And we're all sitting there thinking, okay, it would be better. It would save us all a lot of time and money if people would just own up to it and say, yeah, I did it. But we deny, I did not have sex with that woman. I don't recall, like over and over and over. So it's hard to be honest because if we're honest and we tell the truth, we're going to look bad. I mean, we look bad anyway by doing that, but we can't handle that kind of vulnerability. That's why we lie, because we've gotten caught, we're out in the light, and we can't handle the vulnerability that it takes to say, yes, I did this. And so we protect and pretend until we can't anymore. And then it's like, okay, well, yeah, I did it. But
right, yeah,
self-preservation is and I'm sorry, my ADD is like all over the place on this. I have another story to tell you.
Tell us your story.
So I was at the porn convention. I mentioned a couple episodes ago that we had a booth at the porn convention, right? I wasn't participating.
She does not perform.
I do not. I'm
Settle
not a
down.
performer, right? So we had a booth. Jesus loves porn stars, and no, Jesus does not love pornography, but he loves the people. So we were there to tell them that. And so people came up to the booth, and we were having these great conversations. And this, more than once, I was there 2 years in a row. More than once, people came up, and we would say, "Hey, you want to take a picture with this really cool backdrop that we had?" And the guy would say, "Oh no, if my boss knew that I was here, I would be fired. Mm-hmm. Or if my wife knew I was here with her, she would divorce me." And then the woman would say, "Oh yeah, if my husband knew that I was here with him, he would." So these two people were having an affair. They met in Vegas they met for the weekend in Vegas at the porn convention, having an affair. Both of them were married. So we get ourselves into these situations, that we're just lying all over the place. And, or even a lie could be as simple as, "Hey, I'm going to, exercise when I get home." And then when we get home, we're like, "I'm too tired. I'm not going to do it." Well, you said that you were going to do it. So is that?
That's just changing your mind.
You think it's changing?
That's just changing my mind. Because again,
you don't think it's lying?
No,
what
because
if you do it
circumstances.
over and over and over?
Well, then you need to reevaluate your priorities. Because again, the circumstance could be, because I could wake up in the morning and be like, "Yeah, when I get home, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to do this. I'm going to read a book. And then you get home after a long day of, sniveling students whining about their grades, and you're like, I just got to sit and veg and watch something stupid on TV. So again, it depends on the situation.
Right. So that is back to, are we judging ourselves based on our intentions? Like, say if the person that comes home so I'm going to exercise when I get home, and they never do. So is that person basing themselves on their intentions? They feel good about themselves because they have full intention to exercise. Yes. But it's a lie because they never do.
In that case, they'd be lying to themselves, and they should just come up and be like, "You know what? I'm not going to exercise."
Exactly.
And therefore, I'm going to stop telling everybody and telling myself I'm going to exercise, because you're not going to. Mm-hmm. Unless you do it, you should stop telling yourself that. And again, that's why you should never lie to yourself. Just be honest with yourself and be okay with it.
Why don't we?
I don't know. Why don't we lie to ourselves?
No. I don't know.
I think that's an individual question. I try not to lie to myself, and I try to be honest with myself. Recently you talked about weight loss. Recently I lost about 50 pounds. Still got a few more to go. And for years I was like, I'm going to lose it. But I was realistic with the expectations that, I don't know how, I don't know when, but someday I will. And then I got onto a plan and eventually found something that worked for me. And I got to where I am now. And so I was honest with myself saying I want to, but I don't know when, I don't know how, I got to figure that out. Eventually I figured it out, and then I got to where I wanted to be. Mm-hmm. So that's the type of thing. I want to exercise. Instead of saying, I'm going to exercise when I get home, I want to exercise when I get home, and then try to make a plan to go about how to do that.
That would be the way to handle it.
Yes.
That would be the way to handle it. A lot of us don't do that, and we don't acknowledge the fact that we are lying to ourselves. If we say we're going to do something and repeatedly don't do it, now there's a character issue, and the people that are hearing us say that don't believe us, don't believe our words, because we're just all talk. We're going to do this, and then we never come through. So in that sense, we're lying to ourselves. We're lying to each other. We're thinking that we're better than we are because we're basing ourselves on our intentions and not by our actual actions. And it's a serious character flaw when we go through life that way.
Well, and see, I think too, feelings get into it, and there's a connection. I don't want to say disconnect. We should sometimes have a disconnect between the heart and the mind, but there's not a disconnect, and sometimes the heart overrules the mind, and so we have our feelings involved, and so we want to say whatever it is that either A, makes the other person feel good, makes ourselves feel good, or whatever we can say to make it comfortable in the situation, the circumstance that we're in, because we don't like being uncomfortable. And so when someone comes to me and says, hey, how do you like my hair? Do my jeans make me look fat? First off, I'm not going to care, because I don't care if your jeans make you look fat. I don't care if I don't like the way you cut your hair, because as long as you like the way you cut your hair, and as long as you like the way your jeans fit on you, why should I care? But you're wanting me to have approval, so I'm going to probably respond in a manner that's going to make you feel good. Oh, you know what? I like the way your hair is because it makes you feel good.
So
I personally wouldn't have it that way. I personally don't like I've told people before. Hey, I cut my hair. Do you like it? I'm like, oh, you know what? It looks good on you, but for me, I would prefer someone with longer hair. I prefer women with longer hair. That's just my preference. Just like everyone has a preference. But for you, if you like it and you feel good about it, then you should run with it.
So we need to acknowledge that sometimes we are asking people questions we're not
we shouldn't.
that we shouldn't, and we're not asking for the truth. We're looking for approval.
Yes.
And that makes me insane.
Yes.
That makes me absolutely insane when people think that they're asking, because I've had that so many times. Someone will say, hey, what do you think about this? If you ask me that question, I'm going to tell you the truth. So I would prefer if someone, and then if I disagree, then they're like all mad at me because I'm disagreeing. I'm like, but you asked me. So if you don't want my opinion, then why did you ask me in the first place? So it'd be much better if you would preface it by saying, hey, I'm just looking for some validation here. What do you think? Then I can say, I can speak to the heart. Then I can speak to their emotions. Then I can give the validation that they're needing. But if you come to me and say, what do you think? And you say that I want the truth. And then I give you the truth. And then you're mad at me. That makes me insane.
Well, it goes back.
I get so angry.
It goes back to the, how you doing today? And then they start to tell you, and you're like, oh man, I was really just being polite and saying hi. Well, you should have just said hello, have a nice day, and move on, instead of how you're doing. Then they tell your story. It's kind of like that scenario.
Right, but which is very passive aggressive, because it's like, if you don't want to know an answer, then don't ask the question. Right. Or if you've already if you already have the decision in your mind of what you want to do, don't ask me. Don't get me involved. Just do
because if you want to cut your hair to be a shorter style, and that makes you comfortable and you want to do it, then go for it. Then don't expect people to be mad because you. Right. But I think a lot of times too, we're looking for validation.
Yes.
I'm going to get a tattoo. Do you think I should? Well, why would I care? Yeah, go for it. And then you get one, you don't like it. Now it's my fault you got one because I told you to.
Yeah, exactly.
You're just looking for validation into whatever action you want to do, or whatever it is that you want to do.
Which is also a boundary issue. If we don't have good boundaries or codependence, like if we're expecting other people to be okay with the decisions that we're making, that's a sign of poor boundaries or codependence, that we're expecting other people to give us the validation. And sometimes it's not their job. It's not their job necessarily. So we're almost forcing people to lie because we're not being honest with what we want. I'm not being honest with you by saying, do you like my haircut? If I want you to tell me that it looks good, I'm the one that has to decide if I like it. I'm the one that has to decide if it feels good on me. It's not your job to say, one way or the other. So if I give you that power to validate me, and then you don't maybe you just don't like short hair. It doesn't mean that I don't look good in it or I shouldn't have it. So I think a lot of times we get into these lying situations, either with ourselves or with other people, because we don't have boundaries, or we're passive aggressive, or we've got some codependence going on. And that, it just almost automatically forces people, if they know they can't be honest with you, they won't. We teach people how to treat us. And if we are a person that cannot receive the truth, then people are not going to give it to us. And then that's going to be a relationship that's made up of it's not honest, it's lying.
I had a student one time who I believe is from the West Coast, but spent some time on the East Coast, New York. And New York and LA are two completely different cities with
Yes,
two
they are.
completely different cultures, lifestyles, etc. I asked her, hey, so what do you like better, LA or New York? She's like, New York. I'm like, why? Because they're blunt and they get right to the truth and they don't candy coat things and go around and beat the bush and all that stuff. I'm like, really? She'll, yeah, they're just straightforward. If they have something on their mind, they're going to say it.
Yep.
And they're not going to take all this, roadmap to the stars style way of telling you what they want to say. They just get right to it. And I think that's probably what we've become. We've become a culture in certain areas where we don't want to offend somebody, we don't want to hurt their feelings, we want to tell them the truth, but we don't want to be offensive, and do we even care if we, what the answer is? And so we're just going to kind of give them.
Or we don't want the conflict. That comes, the consequence that comes.
And so I think there's a lot of things that plays into it, and that's why I think it goes back to circumstances. But if we're mature enough to be to the point in society where you ask me a question and I can then give you an answer to that question in a way that's, truthful, but yet also a way that isn't just outright mean, then I think that's okay. Do you like my hair? Well, if you like it, that's the only thing that matters. I prefer someone with longer hair, but you know what? Looks good on you. If you're comfortable with it, then you should run with it. I know the hair thing's kind of superficial, but it's also like in a relationship. Do you want to go out with me? No. I'm busy. I've got something going on. Okay. Maybe they want to go out with me, but they're just not available this time.
Exactly.
Instead of, thank you for the invitation. I'm going to pass and good luck, Okay, then I know that person,
Right.
I can delete them from my phone and I can send them hate mail. Christmas time, I can send them coal and put the coal in their stocking at Secret Santa.
But I think the key in some of this is what I'm getting is that we have to create a safe space. We have to create a space that is, one, we are able to receive the truth and we're not asking people to lie to us. We're not asking for validation. We're asking, we're asking for an honest relationship. So we have to be able to receive truth. And then we also have to be able to give. A lot of people are not able to give the truth. They may hate lying, but they're afraid to tell the truth because of how it's going to go. So they make up all these excuses and dance around the issue and whatever. And so I think we have to learn to be, like you were saying, it's bad to lie to ourselves. We have to be a safe enough person within ourselves that if we tell the truth to ourselves, hey, I've been saying I'm going to go to the gym for months and I don't do it. I need to be honest with myself and just come to the realization I'm just not going to go. And a lot of times we can't handle that kind of truth because then it says something about who we are and we don't necessarily want to acknowledge that we are that person. We'd rather base our identity on our intentions because it feels better. And so I think creating that safe space within ourselves and then creating a safe space with each other so that we can be free to be honest without the condemnation, that's the key.
Here's a simple analogy maybe. So we reached out and we got a logo for Two Steps Ahead podcast.
Okay. Yes.
And the first rounds came, the guy sent us the first go around.
Yes.
And it was just an idea. We gave him really little information and he did a great job on some of them. Some of them were really good, but not quite what we're looking for.
Yes.
So in that instance, we had to be straight up honest and be like, you know what? These are cool. They're great designs. Love the vision, but not what we're looking for. Because if we would have been, oh, they're great, then we'd be stuck with something we didn't like.
Right.
So I went back and said, this is more of an image that we're looking for. And then we ultimately got the logo that I like. I think you like it. I don't know.
Is it the final one?
Possibly. It's the one we're going with right now, let's just say. Okay. So then I've been shopping it around to some people just to get some feedback. And I said, hey, what do you think of this logo? And please be honest with me and not just give me answers you think I want. And then the retort was, "What, you think I'm going to lie to you? Do you think I'm not honest?" I'm like, "No." But we live in a culture where people are going to tell us what we think we want to hear, and I just want true, honest feedback. So, like by saying, "Is that the final one?" That gives me honest feedback that you're not totally 100% liking it. But that's the feedback I want. So when I ask somebody for something, me personally, I want the honest feedback. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Why don't you like it? Why do you like it? If you listen to the show, why do you like it? Why don't you like it? What is good? What is bad? If there's something else that I ask about, is it this? So I'm never one that's going to ask, how does this look on me? Because, frankly, I don't care. I think the last time I asked someone's opinion about clothing was a few weeks ago. I had a long sleeve button down shirt and I wanted to roll up the sleeves, but I don't know if that's cool anymore these days or not. Not that I care, but I wanted to roll them up. So I went in and I had one sleeve rolled up and one down, and I asked, up or down? Up. Okay, thanks. Boom. And out the door I go. But so I asked that type of superficial stuff. Not that superficial's bad, but I ask that superficial stuff very seldom. So when I'm asking somebody, I want them to tell me the truth. I don't want them to candy coat it. Just hit me with what it is. What's the good? What's the bad? Just be logical about it. But sometimes people want to tell us, or they want to let us know what they think they want us to hear. And I think that's where we get the problem. And then it creates, like you said, this situation where someone thinks I accuse them of being a liar. And, I'm like, no, just don't tell me what you think I want to hear. Tell me your honest opinions about what this is.
Well, I'm going to say this by saying that I am exactly that way. In certain areas of my life. In certain areas of my life, I do want that brutal honesty because it makes me better. So when I wrote Bob's book, No Arms, No Legs, No Problem, I did shop his book around to some people who I thought would give me an honest critique. And what I mean by honest critique, we did this in workshop. I mentioned before that I have an English degree in creative writing, a bachelor degree. And so we would workshop our material. So we'd write a short story, hand it out to the entire class. They would go home and read it. The next week, come back and give it a critique. So there's like categories. There's like narrative voice. There's tangential plot lines. There's time and setting and pacing and all kinds of literary things that a book has to follow. Rules of the genre, if it's a mystery or biography, whatever. Those are the things those objective things that I wanted critique on for Bob's book. There were other writers, and I thought, okay, they're going to be good people to give me that honest feedback based on these criteria. And I laid out the criteria. This is what I'm looking for. I laid out all the categories. And surprisingly, the majority of the people did not give me honest feedback. And I even said, this is a rough draft. This is where I am in the process. I do not think this is ready for publishing, but I've taken it as far as I can take it. I've read it enough times. I know it needs more work. I know there's areas that are problem areas. So it's not that I'm not giving this to you thinking that it's great and I'm ready for publishing. I'm giving it to you because I'm stuck, because I know that there's areas and I just want your help and your feedback. What are you seeing? Because I don't see everything, right? And the majority, I was so surprised. And these people are writers, like they publish their own stuff. And I'm like, very little feedback. And they were like, oh, it's great. You're going to do great. Well, in my mind, what I interpreted is they don't like the book. And they're afraid to tell me that it's bad and they don't want to hurt my feelings, even though I specifically said, I think these are some problem areas. Here's the categories that I want you to speak on. One person actually did what I asked. One person went through every category and said, okay, here's the strength and here's the weakness in all of these areas that you've identified that you want help in. And that, I loved that person. I wanted just to hug her. I wanted to take her out to dinner. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so helpful because it made the book better. So when we go into, we want to be better. We want to grow. There's this thing that we want help with. We're able to receive that feedback, and it's not subjective. It's not opinion. It's actual. There was like an actual rubric to follow, and it made it so much better. I lost a ton of respect for all of the other people that did not fill out. They just gave me like foo-foo comments. There were I think there were like 3 people that really dug in and gave me solid comments, and there's the other half just gave me very little. I lost a ton of respect for them because they couldn't be honest, and I think, okay, they don't like it and they were afraid to say it, but I was shortchanged because I didn't have the opportunity to see through their eyes and to make the book better based on what they were seeing. And so I think there are certain areas where we, like in that particular area, I want the honest feedback, all the truth that you can give me so that I can grow and be better as a writer. But then in other areas, if I am sensitive, or if I talk too much, or if I cry, or if I, at a party, if I make all kinds of faux pas, that kind of feedback about my personality, my character, I have a much harder time receiving, and I don't necessarily want to hear it because I already know I'm already embarrassed by it. And so I don't necessarily want someone to point it out. And so that kind of truth and feedback, I'm much more like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want you to tell me that because it hurts me, and I can't, I feel like I don't have a defense against it. Like my writing, I have a rubric, and I'm like, oh, okay, this character is falling apart. I can fix it because that problem is out here. When you give me feedback about me, about my character, about my heart, about my personality, about my behavior, now it's more personal. Now I have more skin in the game. Literally, it's harder to take it. So I might feel better, I guess, if you lie to me, or I'm not being a safe person to receive the truth in that respect because I can't handle it. Right. And so then it forces people around me, oh, she can't handle, so we're not going to be honest with her in that area because she doesn't receive it well. So it starts this whole game of like, now the rules are changed, and now we can't be honest with her. We can't tell her the truth. So we can't trust her in this certain area.
So I think when it comes down to it, to summarize my thoughts on this, is it's not a black and white issue. It's a very gray issue. Mm-hmm. We like to think of things in black and white, right and wrong, with no middle ground. And I know we're taught that way, but I think there's a gray area because I think that goes back to the circumstance, kind of like the circumstantial line, so to speak, where if you're in a situation, we should be mature enough as a society, as people, to live in the truth and to be able to speak the truth and receive the truth, especially if it's in a professional world, a business world, a working world, an academic world. Now, with that, the best approach I think to take is to sprinkle in the positive with the negative, the strengths with the growth opportunities, what was good, maybe what can be improved. And so then that way, you're getting a little bit of both. You don't just come out and be like, that sucked. Go change your career. Be tactful about it, but throw in some good and some bad. But then too, also in some certain situations, I think it's okay to be able to say, if someone comes and asks a question, hey, do you think my hair is good? Do you think this makes me look fat? And you know the person, and you know that by speaking the truth, you're going to offend them and hurt their feelings and cause all kinds of issues. I think in that case, it's okay to say something along the lines that's truthful, but yet deflecting, hey, as long as you like it, I think it looks great, whatever the case may be. And so I think that we have to just know the circumstance, know the people, know what it is that we're asking. And then also don't lie to yourself, because if you're lying to yourself, then you're not going to be your true you. You're not going to be able to fully reach your potential. You're not going to be able to fully achieve all the things that you want to achieve. You want to be realistic in what it is that you're going to be accomplishing in life, but you can't lie to yourself. And like you said, think you're better than you are, or maybe think you're worse than you are. Think you're going to go home and work out all the time when you're really not. Just be honest with yourself, because if we lie to ourselves, then we're only hurting ourselves, and we're not going to be able to achieve anything. And then we give up on ourselves. And like we say, don't give up on yourself. Chase your dream, pursue your goals, take your passion, make it happen, and then let the rest lie where it may. But I think that it comes down to me. It's a gray area. It's very circumstantial depending on the situation. And I think in some situations, in some instances, it is okay to maybe not be so thoroughly truthful. But I think we should be moving as a society to dealing in the truth, being able to handle the truth, and being able to, bear witness of that truth. So that way people can just know, straight up what it is that is going on, and not candy coat it because we don't want them to feel bad. Again, it goes back to circumstance and feelings. Those are the two things that really make it as to whether that's okay.
Feelings, and personal strength. Because sometimes the person that we're talking to is able to handle an honest answer, and they would really appreciate it. And we're just not strong enough in our own character to be able to tolerate telling someone, the truth. No, I don't want to go out with you. I mean, you can say it in a nice way, but being honest rather than making up excuses. And so that's a good way to tell if we are a person that has kind of a weak character. Like, why isn't that we are not able to tell the truth? Why can't we just say no, thank you, and just move on? we have to take a look at that. Take a look at your checkbook. Are you paying for a gym fee for an entire year? And how many times did you actually go? Once? That it's time to be honest with ourselves, because we're also hurting ourselves financially when we're not honest with ourselves.
And if you don't really want to know the answer to the question, don't ask it. If you're not certain what the answer is going to be, just don't ask it. Be confident in yourself and have the confidence that whatever it is you're going to do, whether it's cut your hair, wear the jeans, write a book, take on a job, go on a vacation, ask somebody out, decline somebody's invitation to go out, whatever it is, just have the confidence and the maturity to answer and stick with that and not worry about all the other stuff and just compound the issue. Just be honest, straightforward, and have confidence in yourself, though. Because
people see, if we don't have confidence in ourselves and we're constantly dancing around the issues, people see that. And, as an employer, I would not hire somebody like that. I would hire somebody that is honest, or I would want to go out with somebody who is honest. I don't like people who dance around the issues. And so people see it. So we need to be honest with ourselves. We need to be honest with each other. We need to create a safe space in ourselves to be able to tolerate the reality, and also create a safe space with other people so that they can be real and tell the truth, without us degrading them or shaming them. So, but it's a gray area. I don't like that it's a gray area. I wish it was more black and white, but it is, but it's that. But I will say this. Are we getting near?
Yes.
Near to our end. I will say this to end, is that that's a slippery slope. If we say to ourselves, I don't lie, then we're lying, because we all lie. We can't not as a human being, I think. Number two, if we have a standard and we say that we are not going to lie, we're not going to ever be able to hit that standard of perfection, but we're always going to be striving for it. So therefore we will be more honest overall. As soon as we say it's okay to lie, now we're putting ourselves on that slippery slope. And it's like, we just keep going further and further down, the more used to the deceiving ourselves or deceiving other people. It puts us on a slippery, because then once you say it's okay to lie, then it's like, okay, well, how far can we take it? And when is it okay to lie and what? So the standard that I tried to set for myself is that it's just not okay to lie. It's just not okay. And I strive for, I miss the mark continually, but that is my standard. That is just not okay. So it constantly, I'm not able to have a cop out. It constantly pushes me to try and meet that standard, so that I don't give myself a cop out or give myself an excuse like, oh yeah, it's okay. It's okay to lie. And no, it's not okay to lie. I might still do it, but I know in my head, it's not okay. It's not okay to do that.
I think Honest Abe would be okay with this conversation today.
You think so?
I think you'd be comfortable with it. Remember, no foo-foo comments, but foo-foo drinks are okay.
Drinks are fun. I love foo-foo drinks, but no foo-foo comments.
We're 2 Steps Ahead Podcast. Check us out on Instagram, 2 Steps Ahead Podcast. My Instagram is Edem Rocks, EIDEM ROCKS.
And my Instagram is Tara Hoke-Schiro, TaraHokeschiro, and I am also on YouTube.
And you can find us on YouTube at 2 Steps Ahead Podcast. Also, SoundCloud, Spotify, all the usual spots.
Pandora,
you can check
iTunes,
out. You can check out my bio on the 2 Steps Ahead Podcast bio. The link is there, or you can just go to SoundCloud and check out 2 Steps Ahead Podcast. And hope you enjoy it. Let us know what you think. DM us, email us at 2stepsaheadpodcast@gmail.com. And remember, first off, don't give up on yourself. Don't lie to yourself, because that's only going to hurt you. Chase your dreams, take your passion, make it happen. And life's a journey, not a destination. So enjoy the roller coaster of life. Enjoy the ups, but don't get too high with them. And obviously we don't enjoy the lows, but don't get too depressed in those lows, because life's a roller coaster and we're going to bounce back and get to the high again. And it's a thrill ride. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. So enjoy the process. Have some fun with it, and hope you guys are enjoying these things, and we'll see you down the road here on 2 Steps Ahead Podcast.
And don't forget to follow and subscribe. Take care, guys. See you next week.